It's been a while since I've seen something this bizarre. Grimcutty is a new horror movie that was released on Hulu as a Hulu original on the 10th of October, so today. It's just in time for the spooky season binges and Huluween, but this film sticks out because there's something very different about it. The drama horror mystery, written and directed by John Ross, is one of the most fascinating mashups I've seen in a long while, pairing a warning cry for adults with intense subject matter, as well as a bizarre animated creature feature. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today we explore Grimcutty spoiler-free, giving you some context to the film and hopefully a better understanding of what the intentions were behind this new movie. And hopefully your viewing experience will be a little bit more seamless than mine. Again, this is completely spoiler free, but just some background information that will help you out. The feature follows the Chaudhry family, which learn of a killer online challenge becoming viral. A challenge where children harm themselves when an entity appears telling them to do so. This panic sweeps across the town, and even with their head-on approach to educate their children, their daughter Asha witnesses Grimcutty in the flesh. You get an instant entity reveal, which gives the film kind of a patchwork tone. The film is as much about the child's perspective as it is the parents, dealing with anxiety and fears from both standpoints. So who is this film made for? If you've been keeping up with horror lately, there has been a lot of content, but one film that stands out is Mr. Harrigan's Phone. This is a film a lot of people found heavy-handed with its messaging about the dangers of social media and technology. These opinions were not my own, but I can definitely see where people are coming from with this. If you share this opinion, I have bad news for you. Grimcutty doubles down on this message and the way it's handled. But unlike Mr. Harrigan, this one, as I said, feels like a patchwork. It feels a little bit split. It's very confusing who it's intended for. It's a heavy subject matter of self-harm, which seems to automatically rule out the idea of this being for teens or students. At times, it feels like the darkest after-school special or just straight-up technology propaganda. But its strange, whimsical Grimcutty entity feels too childlike for this to be a warning for parents. And though, of course, many parents watch horror movies, it seems like a poor decision to make a fictional film where kids self-harm to prove a point. Especially when you add to the mix that the main character, Asha, has just started her own YouTube channel for ASMR content. This does link around in the film, I get that, but this seems to be incredibly niche to point this towards an age group that would understand both perspectives. The demographic this kind of caters to, or the perspective it's trying to touch on, is dropping by the minute, because as I said, this shows both standpoints from child to adult. So what is the intention behind the Grimcutty, and where did this idea come from? Let's find out together. Okay, it's no surprise to me that some of you will be screaming Momo at me right now. And mind the jump scare. This is Momo. If you don't know, this is Momo and this is Grimcutty. There's obvious connections between the two. And if you don't know about Momo, you really should before you watch this movie. For those who don't know, Momo was a worldwide internet phenomenon back in 2018. The initial panic came after an Argentinian newspaper reported a 12-year-old girl had unalived herself because of Momo. I looked into this and the investigation never concluded that Momo was connected to this death. But it had already kicked off. People started posting warnings about the strange challenge all around the world. From police officers in Ireland posting on Facebook to Kim Kardashian posting on Instagram. No one knew exactly what the challenge was, just that their children were in danger by something that looks like this. But years later, there has never been any source material from Momo to confirm that this was even a challenge, that this was even a thing. Any images, memes, or warnings about Momo were only created after the panic began. Momo is now thought of to be a hoax, with the first initial warnings commencing the drama. In fact, this very popular image of Momo is a cropped image of a sculpture that was made in Japan. The sculpture was created in a Tokyo studio for a special effects company. It was made of natural oils and rubber, and it was never designed to be permanent. In fact, it has since been destroyed. But what has this got to do with Grimcutty? Grimcutty director-writer John Ross found the widespread panic about what is essentially categorized as a hoax to be fascinating. And he said, I quote, "It felt right to be satire," which, honestly, I never got from the film. Understandably, the idea of parents misreading an internet meme is kind of humorous. Ross also liked the idea of parents taking away the technology that children needed to get to the core of the mystery. Yet another interesting circumstance or way for technology to be eliminated in a horror movie, allowing it to be a question of survival for the characters. So going in with this point of view from the director, the film starts to make a little bit more sense. But if that's the case, what is with the reveal of Grimcutty? Revealed within the first few minutes gives no suspense to whether it's real or not. It's also featured on the poster and seen within daylight in the film. And if that was the purpose, I feel like this kind of melts away when we see kids on screen actively self-harming or trying to end their life. It's not really something you joke about, or something that is put in a comedy at least. And that to the side, if it is meant to be a take on paranoia and what happened with Momo, it becomes quite murky when we trade that in for an off-brand version of Death Note from 2017. I had to say it, everyone was thinking it. This could have been just a mysterious entity that was lurking in the shadows during the majority of the film. And then to add even more muddiness to the situation, the director said that the stylization of this film was meant to be a fun 80s throwback, but contemporary at the same time. I wonder if he was going for something like Brain Scan. I know that's 90s, but similar kind of, entity showing up. It's kind of kooky, kind of fun, but a lot less self-harm. But in Grimcutty, I just don't think that the stylization, content, or characters were that over the top and obvious. And when something attempts to be too many things all at once, especially a movie that runs for only 90 minutes, the purpose and message gets diluted by all the ways it trails off. The only moment when I thought that the film was true satire, and I did get this moment, it was pretty obvious. They had a motivational speaker come to the school and do the whole fear versus love Donnie Darko spiel. But in this film, it does kind of make sense having a motivational speaker coming to speak at your school if all of your kids are harming themselves. I don't know how else to say it. The film is meant to be satire, but yet it presents a real threat to these children. To conclude, the film is a confusing take on a niche side of the internet, but to its credit, it does make it more interesting. Films that are made from very personal perspectives about what the writers are interested in have an interesting shine to them, or rather an unforgettable, whether good or bad, glimmer. Think The Evil Within and Found. Also Low, that's a good one. Low budget films that come from the heart, strange films that last longer in your mind than on the screen. Because there's so much more to the story. There has to be for all of these strange details to collide, in which they have for Grimcutty. I can't knock it. Grimcutty is one of the most fascinating films I've seen recently, especially in 2022. I actually love things made for extremely niche audiences. We see this with A24 all the time. But Grimcutty misfires on several aspects, including its bizarre design for the entity, which looks almost human-like but never talks. In this film, the horror took the backseat while the bewilderment took the wheel. But as always, make up your own mind, but hopefully with this context, the film will make a little bit more sense, or at least it will make sense where it's coming from. Although this was more of a little deep dive than a review, I will be giving you my score. I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10 for personal, a 3 out of 10 for scare, and a 7 out of 10 for originality, and a 10 out of 10 for what the fuck. But I want to know what you thought about Grimcutty down below, and I also would love to know if you have any films that you feel like go under people's radar that are so niche and so strange and tangle up so many details that you have to be a particular audience to understand what's even going on. I want to know about those films because I find them absolutely fascinating. Whether they hit all the marks or not, there's a special place and a special audience for them. So please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd love to have you. I do 2 videos every single week talking about horror movies, and my merch is also live if you'd like to check it out. We just launched about a week ago. I got my Spooky Astronauts hoodie on here, very comfy. Anyway, I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.